this is about emotional safety, and sometimes the thing she needs the most protection from is you. It's you. If you're out of control, she will need to be protected from you. Hi, I'm Mary, certified relationship coach, Christian sex educator, empty nester, and happy jet skiing wife who believes God's design for sex in marriage is too good to stay quiet about.
And I'm Katieann, senior pastor, wife, mom to 4 kiddos, and I always love having some fun, even when we're diving into the deep and holy conversations about marriage and sex.
So, welcome to the Sexual Wholeness Revival Podcast. Hello, everybody. I have a confession to make. What we are sharing today, I got in trouble over. And it worked out, of course, but I know that the truth in this topic is worth taking a chance on getting in trouble. And what am I talking about? We are going to dive into a particular book, and it is called The Men We Need. It's by Brant Hansen. I've heard him in person. He's a Christian radio personality and speaker, and the book is very humorous. It's an easy read. Chapters are short. They have all kinds of stories. I highly recommend it. And you may ask, how on earth did you get in trouble over this? I was working with a couple and I encouraged the wife to read it. And the husband got back to me and is, whoa, is she going to find all the things she doesn't like about me in this book? And I said, no, what it does is it gets you both on the same page. Read it with her if you are that intrigued. And I think he calmed down and they chose to give it some time. But I love it. And we are going to emphasize some helps for men over the next few weeks. I say most of the time we are couple focused, but sometimes we are more female focused. And hey, I want to give as much equal weight as I can. So we're going to be specific for ways that we can help men, and addressing some key topics from this book is going to do it. And I need to tell you why, and then we will get officially started. The reason why is there are secrets in this book. They're only secrets because you don't know them yet, but it is how to love in such a way that it creates this bond that is fiercely strong and unifying. And that is the ultimate thing. This is not, oh, women just want the emotional connection, men just want the sexual connection. No, it is the connection on both sides that we both want, and that strength. But when we each, as a man or as a woman, step into our role that God has for us, that's when so many other things come to life. So we are doing this as a part of our gifts focus. The G stands for good, the I stands for intimate, the F stands for fierce, the T stands for timeless, the S stands for sacred. These are all of the components of sexual intimacy in marriage according to God's design. So we are unpacking some secrets, some tips, some highlights from this book that will help you. So our main question is, how do husbands create an atmosphere of safe bonding?
Yeah, and that is such a great question. And I just want to encourage all the men who happen to be listening to this. You're not just by chance listening to this. I don't believe that. But it's just like education on anything with anything else. You don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. And so there's no shame in getting help. There's no shame in getting educated and learning better communication and how to make your love believable. There's no shame
Yeah.
in it. And so real manhood really is about taking responsibility, not being so much dominant or passive. How does that help?
It's amazing because God doesn't waste any of our energy. And I truly believe that this is calling men into the fullness of who they are as an individual. So the benefits will apply to the man and to his wife and to his family. And I look at dominant and passive as two poles of the spectrum here. And dominant is that place of being controlling, possibly demanding. Sometimes we choose to control out of a place of fear, so nobody wants to be. And then passive can also be a place of fear in that, oh no, if I say or do something, I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to feel rejected. It's all going to backfire. I'm already a failure. Why do anything? One of those are healthy, strong perspective, and it works against you. Doing nothing works against you just
Right.
as much as doing something that I'll say is selfish. So we see some of the negative things, but the positive thing is when you show up fully in your purpose and you're working on yourself and you're taking all of those steps, those action steps, when you do that, the way it helps is your spouse instantly, her anxiety is reduced. My husband's managing himself. I don't have to worry if he's going to show up. I don't have to worry if I may or may not be respected today. I don't have to think about I'm walking on eggshells because anything could happen. Oh my goodness, when she has that sense of peace, she begins to blossom. And this is the secret, because when she feels safe, she can then become vulnerable emotionally,
Right.
physically, and sexually. So a man showing up, taking responsibility, first of all, for himself, his thoughts, his feelings, his actions, all of that, when he steps into that role, then she is freer to step into her role. So it is just a win-win when that kind of choice to be more responsible is what's taking place.
Yeah, that is so good and it's so important. And I think sometimes in people's minds, there's a difference of being dominant and controlling versus a doormat. And
Ah,
really, some men that I've talked to have this idea that if they are responsible or serving, that somehow makes them a doormat to their wife and their family too. And really, that is a form of pride that needs to get looked at. And scripture says, no greater
yeah.
love has any man that they would lay down their life. And so you're not a doormat when the goal is the mutual goal of respect or the goal of
Amen.
mutual respect. It's really important to understand that serving and laying your life down for your spouse is meant to grow trust and respect, not make you a doormat. And men are called to protect. This is really important. My husband
Mm-hmm.
has shown up in really big ways that have been costly to him to protect me. And so men are called to protect, cultivate,
Mm-hmm.
and bring life to what's around them. How does that feel? How does that help as a wife? How does that help us feel safer?
When she feels protected, then she can step into her own realm. So, as an individual, her life is more fulfilling. And when her gifts are cultivated, when her gifts are called out, when a husband has such respect and appreciation for his wife, that is a type of cultivating. Then she's, oh, I can do more. I'm not being squashed. I read this phrase this week talking about religious fundamentalist and the submission and the suppressing. We're talking about the opposite of that. We're
Right.
talking about a place of flourishing. And even the word cultivate is a fun word in this situation because I instantly think of a garden and watching it grow, but knowing there are so many things that happen before that first little green shoot pops up out of the ground, because you have to prepare the soil and you have to get the right seed. And then there's the water and the sun, all of the things that it takes So there are seasons in your relationship with your wife where cultivating means walking things out with her, even when she is discouraged. But the growth will happen, and when she is feeling more purpose, living into her purpose and her calling, then that is a place of overflow. You will get benefit of her overflow, having that joy that just bubbles up, and she's more giving when those things are happening around her. But all of this starts with feeling safe. And we haven't said this yet, so maybe we need to clarify. I'm not saying that your wife thinks her physical safety is in danger. I'm not saying go out and buy a new Ring system with all the cameras and bells and whistles and what have you. No, this is not about physical safety. We want that to be in place. This is about emotional safety, and sometimes the thing she needs the most protection from is you. It's you. If you're out of control, she will need to be protected from you. Maybe you haven't heard that before, but that's why we're breaking these down into little bits here so that we can get a bigger understanding for that.
Yeah. And really, the idea of submission has been a little misconstrued, I would say.
Mm.
Submission is often who has the most power, or who's the number one boss. We joke in our family, daddy's number one boss. And I go, no, I'm number one. It's a joke. But really, the question around protect, cultivate, and bring life,
Mm.
submission is really important to that. But we have to have a biblical understanding of submission. And it's
Yeah.
not that one person has all of the power. Submission really is a laying down of your life one to another, and it's both submitting to one another. And somebody asked me
Mm-hmm.
one time, what happens when you and Josh disagrees? Who makes the final decision? And I said, we do. And he goes, yeah, but when you don't agree, who makes the final decision? And I don't really have a framework for that,
Mm.
because we have always made the priority of our connection
Yeah.
the priority in disagreement. And so even when we don't agree on a decision, it doesn't feel disconnected, or that he has all the power and he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to go, I'm the boss, so this is what we're doing. There's a mutual submission that happens that creates protection, that invites
Amen.
me into the marriage, and it cultivates and brings life to our family around us. So understanding even submission is really important. And men are called to defend the weak. Feminism has gone a long ways to up in the cart on
Mm.
some of that. But the truth is, my husband can open a jar of pickles easier than I can. He is physically stronger than me. He can carry a heavier load. That is the way God has designed them. So there is a call on them to defend the weak, serve others, and use their strength for good. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to understand that doesn't make what I do less. It's
Right.
really important that we understand that. But how does that show that gentleness and strength when they are combined is such a powerful thing. How does that show gentleness and strength combined?
It's an interesting point. Part of the title of this book is God's Purpose for the Manly Man, the Avid Indoorsman, or Any Man Willing to Show Up. And Brant Hansen's story, he has a disability. And you would not know that. I think it's actually something with his sight, but he talks about being the captain of the chess team or something like that. So he is not the picture of the rugged outdoorsman, although his title include the indoorsman as well. So the strength that we're talking about is the internal character and strength, and the
Yes.
strength that a man gathers about himself all through his life. I know this is not a one and done, but as he is maturing and he continues to choose things that improve who he is and certainly drawing on his relationship with God. That strength shows up in leadership, but it also shows up in a gentle way of listening and creating space and not being there just to fix the problem, but willing to listen and even maybe draw out for a wife to come to answers with him, not looking at his watch or looking at his phone, but
Right.
being present. So he is managing his thoughts and not just anticipating the next time she pauses, I'm going to jump in there and give my 2 cents worth. No, he knows that if he's created safe space, that means her thoughts all count, and this is a time to focus on her. So it removes the competition, which I really love. And we certainly want both spouses to show up in their strength, but we acknowledge that it could look very different for a man than it does for a woman.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Men are called to reject passivity. This is really important because I just think that when you talk about leadership and having spiritual leaders with what feminism has brought in, it's
Mm.
almost required men to be more passive. Otherwise, it threatens our the feminist move. It's just
Mm.
a really interesting thing that just talking about the topic around passivity and stuff. And so I think some men just default to passivity, and really men are called to reject passivity. And this
Mm.
book confronts avoidance, comfort seeking, and disengagement.
Wait, did you know most Christian couples never actually talk about sex in a healthy way? If this is the kind of conversation you've been missing, make sure you're subscribed to the Sexual Wholeness Revival. Follow this podcast so we can normalize conversations about sexuality according to God's design. Please subscribe today. We want to normalize this conversation for everyone.
How would this message resonate with wives?
I know when a husband is passive, she can take it personally in thinking he doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about himself. He doesn't care about our life. And if you have children, he doesn't care about our family. Those can be deep wounds. Now, he may care tremendously, but if it's not showing up in action, then she doesn't know. He has to get to that place where he's able to identify his thoughts and feelings and be able to express that in a way so that she goes, he really is on board. She's not a mind reader. That's something that we say often, but we know that when he is taking action, and she can see this action, then she's encouraged. She doesn't feel the weight of all of the decisions. I've watched some things on social media about men and women and the journey and how things play out. And they might get married and everything is carefree and spontaneous and fun. And then they start having children. And of course, they still love each other. They're still committed, but the responsibility load changes. And here is a key point. It's not just what the physical tasks are that a woman might feel responsible for. It is the mental responsibility. So if she's having to tell her husband, will you do this and this? Now, I know he's not a mind reader, but if she's having to explain every single task, then she hasn't gotten a break from that mental responsibility. He might jump in and physically do it, which we're so thankful for, but being active is and having partnership in even the division of labor in the home will go a long way. And I'm just telling you guys, with each one of these points that we're bringing up, when your wife feels safer, when your wife can be more vulnerable, then your wife will be able to open up and there will be a sense of connection, and this will lead to more sexual intimacy in the best scenarios. So that is the beautiful flow of how God designed us, and how when we show up in marriage like that, that it can be just how the positive domino effect when each one of us are doing those
Yeah.
things that bring out the best in ourselves and also the best in our spouse.
Yeah. And there's a saying that says, happy wife, happy life. And I think some of those sayings can give the feeling that means that you have to be passive and you have to whatever your wife needs. That's not what we're saying either. And I think all of these things, anything around the topic of submission, around protecting and cultivating, the goal of connection needs to be the primary goal and motivation
Yes.
in all of this stuff, because you laying your life down for your wife could also come across as feeling like a doormat, or you
Mm,
being dominating can feel making a decision maybe that you don't agree on. It can all lead to disconnect. And
mm.
so really the having the goal of connection needs to be the priority with all of these things. In the fruit of connection will be seen as husbands step
Yes.
into and they confront avoidance and comfort seeking and those types of things when the goal is connection. Men are called to engage in real life and forsake the fake life. This is a
Mm.
conversation. My husband was a video game person when we met,
Ah.
when we got married. He had logged a lot of hours on certain video games. He's an IT guy, so he's into technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting married almost 21 years ago, and I'm like, that's a lot of video games. But one of the things that he did is he grew out of it and on
Mm.
his own. He was like, I have a real life now. And sometimes that is a little more challenging for men, but they are called to
Mm-hmm.
engage in real life and forsake the fake life. How would stopping the escape to screens, porn, and fantasy strengthen a marriage?
Truly, when he chooses his wife, she feels chosen. She feels
Yes.
special. She feels cherished. She feels honor, respect, the things
Right.
that are foundational to a good marriage. And just to repeat what you said, Katieann, we're not saying he gives up everything and he does nothing for himself and he doesn't even have a hobby. Not at all. But when we prioritize one another, that is just an expression of love. And this question is an extreme situation, the escapism. So this is not just a trivial,
Right.
oh, I've got 15 minutes, I'm going to go hop on, I'm going to scroll something. No, this is when a whole lifestyle becomes characterized by escaping whatever, whether they are escaping stress at work, stress at home. And this is an excuse that men often give in regards to
Right.
pornography. It wasn't happening in the bedroom, so I just went and found it in porn. May not be their exact words, but that's an escape. That is someone who is not saying we need to face this together.
Right.
Huge difference. So we don't want these screens, whatever they are, to take the place of relationship. They're not real. And every once in a while we jump in there and expose a few things about porn, but I just have to remind you that what happens in pornography is not real. The
That's
people
right.
are actors at best. At worst, there are so many that have been trafficked and they are stuck in this role. And unfortunately, things have have degraded terribly, whereas there are more acts of violence that are included in pornography. And if a spouse, and we're talking to men, so if a man would get caught up in pornography see these activities that revolve around violence come to his wife and try to do these things, then, oh my goodness, there is just so much devastation that has happened there. And unfortunately, also, I know that when these acts of violence are shown during porn, a lot of times the expression on the woman's face is pleasure. So there
Right.
is nothing honorable or good or true about that. The real thing with your wife is worth fighting for. Let me just lay it right there.
Yeah. And men are called to make women and children feel safe. Like they're the protector. I know my kids feel very safe with their dad. Like they go to him when there's problems. They talk to him, they ask him for help. And so this is really important. He is a protector in our
Yeah.
family. And this shows up as not intimidating or in self-centered. It's not self-centered. How does this help a wife trust her husband?
She knows that she can come to him. She knows that he has faced some of his own issues and he has made space for her, and it's the safe space. That's what we keep coming back to. We tried to give some different examples about how this would play out. So definitely in
Right.
communication, he's not interrupting. He's not distracted, looking at his phone, not paying attention. He's not waiting for the next thing that he can say to keep the conversation going. No, he realizes that God is his ultimate source in meeting his needs, and he can put his needs to the side to meet his wife's needs when she needs to feel safe. Not that his needs won't be addressed, but as the role of the protector, that is the one of the ways that plays out. And as we've also said, it's going to be a win
Right.
when a husband is able to step into that. And I know that this might be brand new information for our audience. And I just want to encourage you that if this resonates with you, we want to call you to action. We're actually going to do something a little bit different here. I want you to respond to this podcast, make a comment, and say the word action. That is your first step to realize you want to do something more than you've done in the past, and you're going to take action. And when you comment with the word action, we're going to reach out to you with some personal encouragement right where you are. Hey, that could open the door to more conversations with your wife as a couple together. It might be that you certainly seek out a male mentor. I will be putting the book information, The Men We Need, in our show notes, so that is definitely available for you. But we just encourage you, men, to step forward because we know that it is going to enrich your life when you step into that place God has for you, and it's going to be such a blessing for your wife and for your family.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary, for all of you're just a wealth of wisdom. I so appreciate you. And until next time, let's bring back wholeness.